Hi, everyone. I'm Donna Stellhorn, and I want to thank you so much for joining me today. We are going to be talking about Chinese astrology, and thank you, Llewellyn, for hosting this LlewellynCon. This is fantastic. So we're going to just jump into the slides, and this is my upcoming book. This is actually my 20th book, but my first book with Llewellyn. This is Chinese Astrology, Life, Love, Luck in the 12 Animal Signs, and so that's going to be available next January. Next slide, please. So the interesting thing about Chinese astrology is it's quite different than Western astrology. So Western astrology, we look at the movement of the planets and the cycles and all of that to do predictions. But Chinese astrology is actually more like a calendar. And so there are unique energies, and there's energies for the hour, month, day, month, and year. And there's 60 unique energies that repeat over and over again. And that is every 60 days, every 60 months, every 60 years, and actually every 120 hours, because hours are done in 2-hour increments. Next slide, please. And so the basic building blocks of Chinese astrology are the 10 heavenly stems, and that's going to be the 5 elements in the condition of being yin or yang. And then there are the 12 earthly branches, which you're probably familiar with. Those are the animal signs. Next slide, please. So the 5 elements are the building blocks of everything. And so they are the building blocks of people and our personality and our reactions. It's our emotions. We can see it in these different buildings. It's colors and clothing and weather and flavors. And so they are the building blocks of everything. Next slide, please. And so on this slide, we can see the breakdown of what makes up these elements. And as you may notice, the elements are represented by, or they are representing the 5 visible planets. And so wood is representing Jupiter. It's the color green. It's things that are tall and narrow. So like if you lived in a skyscraper, that would be wood energy. They are things made of wood or plants, so if you lived in a log cabin house, you would live in wood energy. It is the energy of anger. Oh, I see some of my slides are not formatting correctly. But it's anger. And then it is the energy of growth. And we're going to go through very soon in a minute or two which element you are. But if you are the wood element, then you believe all problems in the world would be solved if people would just grow. Now, next is fire. Fire is Mars, and it is the color red. It is triangular in shape, so kind of like a flame. It is animal prints, plastics, candles, things that are on fire. It is the energy of joy, or the feeling of joy, and it's the energy of action. And so if you were born under the fire element, you believe all things in the world would be solved, all problems would be solved if people would just do something. Then there's Earth. Earth is Saturn, and Saturn's the color, Earth is yellow. The shape is like a tabletop or a mesa or a block. It is things made of clay or marble or granite. It is the feeling of rest, and it is the energy of stillness. And so if you're born under the earth element, you believe all problems in the world would be solved if people would just take a moment and consider. And then comes metal, and metal is representing Venus, and it is the color white. It is circular things. Of course, it's things made of metal and things like coins and money in general. It is the emotion of sadness, and it is the energy of organization and organizing resources. And so if you are born under the metal element, you believe all problems in the world would be solved if people would just organize their resources. And then there is water, and water is Mercury, and it is the color blue or black. It is an undulating shape, and so it's a kind of a shapelessness. It is things made of glass, things containing water. It is the emotion of fear, and it is the energy of communication or connection. And so if you were born under the water element, you believe all problems in the world would be solved if people would just talk to one another. Next slide, please. So the interesting thing and difference between Western astrology and Chinese astrology is in Chinese astrology, the elements interact with each other quite a lot. And so there's a creative cycle, and that is that wood creates fire, and then the ash creates earth, and then earth creates metal, because when we dig into the earth, we find gold. Metal makes water, and that's because if we make something out of metal and we put it outside, condensation forms outside the object, and that is it's pulling water from the air. And then water creates wood, because when we pour water on the ground, trees grow. There is also a destructive cycle, and that is that wood depletes earth. And so when we are growing trees or plants, it's pulling nutrients out of the ground. Earth blocks water because we can build a dam. Water puts out fire. Fire melts metal, and metal chops wood. And that's the idea that we can make an axe and then chop down a tree. Next slide, please. So you can find your element by, okay, I'm getting ahead of myself here. If you're born in January or February, that's when Lunar New Year happens. And Lunar New Year happens every year, actually, on the new Aquarius moon. So you can look up and find the Aquarius moon, and then you know when Lunar New Year is happening. But if you happen to be born in a month that is not January or February, you can figure out your element by what year you were born. So wood element people are born in a year ending in 4 or 5. Fire is 6 or 7. Earth 8 or 9. Metal 0 or 1. Water 2 or 3. Additionally, if you're born in an even number year, you are yang energy. And if you're born in an odd number year, you are yin energy. And again, if you are born in January or February, you're going to have to look this up online, but there are a lot of sites to do that. Next slide, please. So let's compare your element with the element of the year. Now, currently we're in 2024, which is wood, and 2025 will be wood. We're currently in the yang year. Next year will be in the yin year. And so if your element is wood and the whole energy of the world is wood, then you're in harmony with the energy. You want to grow, and the whole world is supporting that. It is giving you many opportunities this year and next year, so you can that supports your knowledge, that like you have access to all this information here at LlewellynCon and everywhere else, and you can obtain new skills, wisdom, understanding. You can expand in any direction you want. Next slide, please. Now, if your element is fire, and of course, we're in a wood year now, and then wood year next year, that means you're on the creative cycle, because wood creates fire. So it's you who is this little flame, and the entire world is just wood for you to burn. So that means that everyone is stepping up to help you. It is easy to create a win-win. There's an abundance of opportunities for connections. There's a lot of actions you can take in a lot of different directions. So, and because of that, it's important to stay focused on what it is you want to do, because everything's going to look attractive this year and next year. Next slide, please. Now, if your element is earth, and of course we're doing wood energy this year and next year, you're on the destructive cycle, because wood depletes earth. So now picture yourself, you're this little plot of land, and everybody wants to plant themselves on you and pull the nutrients up. And so it feels like everyone in the world wants something from you. They want you to be on their team, their committee, their project. They want your advice. They want your support. They want your money. So you need to be very choosy about who you let, pull your resources this year. Next slide, please. Now, if your element is metal, then, and we're doing all this wood, now you have a very sharp axe and the entire world is a forest. And so even though you're on the destructive cycle, you have so many opportunities because there's just tree after tree, every kind of tree. What you need to be aware of is that as a tree, it's not a good fit. It doesn't make a house for you. It doesn't make a chair. So it's necessary for you to look at everything and negotiate or wait for something better. Be mindful that you can't just necessarily take the offer that you get without doing some changes. Basically, you want to order a la carte. Next slide, please. And then if your element is water, and this year we're doing these wood years, you're on the creative cycle as water feeds wood. But you are the glass of water when the entire world is thirsty. And so this is you pouring your water on every single tree in the world. You're going to run out of water. So this is, you're pulled in many different directions. People find you essential for their success, but you have to be very careful not to use up all your resources because you can deplete yourself very quickly. Next slide, please. So now, because we now know these building blocks of the different energies, we can take a look at what the energy of the year is going to be. And we're going to just skip down to 2024 because we've done some of these years already. And we're in a Yang Wood Dragon year right now. And this is very big thinking. And, everybody has these periods of optimism and distraction. And we're just flying high and enjoying everything. And so, and it's kind of an undulating, like it goes up, the markets go up and then they dip and they go up and they dip. Next year in 2025, it's Yin Wood Snake. And so our high flying dragon falls to the ground and the snake entirely lives on the ground. Its entire body resting on the earth, feeling every vibration, feeling every little nuance, every step. And so we get to be very practical, very pragmatic, very nervous about things. Every little gyration has us being cautious. And so we go from that high flying energy to, oh, well, maybe I need to hold on to my resources. And then because the snake can bite its own tail, we have lots of endings and beginnings happening during this time. So we're trying to finish up things. We're trying to start new things. Next slide, please. In 2026, we're going to go into Yang Fire Horse, and that is a year where we're going to feel more optimistic. And so I'm expecting if we're going to get any sort of real recession or something, that would be in 2025, but we still may feel it in 2026, but we're starting to feel like, yeah, we have to band together and then we can run free and we will start to feel like things are getting a little better. We're not as nervous. Then in 2027, Yin Fire Goats like to climb. And so we're climbing out of the difficulties. We're finding our way now. We're looking for the better grass. And so that is, people start moving again, changing jobs and feeling more optimistic. Then we get into Yang Earth Monkey, and of course, monkey loves a party. And so now we are saying, yes, I knew we were going to be okay. We're the things are happy, and now again we're kind of high flying. Then we get to Yin Earth Rooster, which is a really good combination for Rooster, as Rooster wants to build something anyway. And so now we're very focused on, let's make something that lasts. Let's find a foundation and then build from there. In the dog year, we're going to want change and innovation, and we'll see major innovations in 2030. That's going to be, so exciting. And then there's going to be this kind of going into groups where, your group knows how to do these certain things, but you don't really know what other people are doing. And then I'm really looking forward to 2031. It's our year of art and spirituality. That's going to be Yin Metal Pig. And that's where we really start to value creativity and art. Next slide, please. So we've been talking about your annual pillar. So that is your element and your animal for the year. But you actually have 4 pillars in your chart, and these kind of loosely related to a Western astrology concept. So if you know some Western astrology, this will make some sense. But your annual pillar or your year pillar in your chart, which is an element and an animal, and all 4 of these is the roots of the tree. So this is your, how your personality is, what you brought forth in this life. And so that's very close to an ascendant in Western astrology. And then the month pillar, which you also get for all 4 of these, you get an animal and an element. And the month pillar is like the tree trunk. And so that's your family, your upbringing, relationships with parents and siblings. This is very much like the 4th house cusp or the IC in Western astrology. And then the day pillar is your relationships, all the people you meet, your partnerships, your collaborations, your connections. And this is very similar to the descendant or 7th house cusp in Western astrology. And then your hour pillars, the fruits and flowers of the tree, and that's going to be what you're producing out in the world. So we see it as career, but in Chinese astrology, we also see it as children. And so the closest approximation we have is the midheaven, and in Western astrology. And that's what you're giving to the world. Next slide, please. So we're going to go through the 12 animal signs and do some quick predictions for 2025. But I just wanted to explain something, and that is that each of you have a 12-year cycle. It starts when your year comes up, and from there, we can look at it as though it's a year on the farm. So, and that means there are 3 years that you'll do that are spring, where you'd be planting and, trying to get those crops to grow. 3 years of summer, where now things are growing and you can sit back a little bit. 3 years of autumn or harvest, and that is busy, busy, busy. And then 3 years of winter, where now we're considering things and we're planning for the future. Next slide, please. Now, I know there's a ton of information on these slides, and we're not going to go over all of this today, but I just wanted you to have this information. And so we're just going to talk a little bit about what is going on for each of the signs. And so, Rat, you're going to be in the last year of seed tending. That is the last year of summer. And so that means that you have more time for play and vacations. Life feels more abundant. You have more social time, and so more friends. You may be very friend-oriented during this time. Job promotion or a new job is still possible, but it's probably within your industry. And then you have a greater sense of well-being. Next slide, please. And then Ox, you are in the 2nd year of summer. So this is midsummer. And so now you have a more relaxed year coming up. That means that you have more time for vacations or for exploring about you, but you do need to be selective about your resources. So think on the farm like you have a limited amount of water or fertilizer, and you want to hit the best crops. So you have business and career growth is quite possible, more time for networking and making connections. Next slide, please. Now, for tigers, this is your 1st year of summer. So this is a time where you have to be very discerning. You've had 3 years of seed planting now. You're starting to see what's really coming up, what's going to, of your projects, of your relationships, what's really going to be working. Those are the things you want to put time and energy into. This is progress on your goals becomes clear. Now you can see what's working and what's not working. You get more business growth, and some of your friendships and relationships become more stable, where they were kind of, coming in and out before. Next slide, please. Now, Rabbit, you're in the last year of spring. So you have been doing years now of change, change, change. Well, you still have another year of change coming. And that is that you're looking around and saying, all right, I'm not seeing results from everything I'm doing. What else can I try? So on the farm, this would be, oh, there's a little bit more land and I've got a few more seeds. I need to plant these seeds. So it's still quite possible that you're going to get some new opportunities, especially related to job, definitely new opportunities when it comes to relationships. You are, though, establishing some routines now that involve change, where you just getting ready, like, what needs to change next? What needs to change next? You're starting to see some of the signs of success. You know, when little plants pop up, they'll give you some indication I'm going to grow, but you don't know if it's really what you wanted or just a little weed. So that's you have to be watchful about. And some casual connections can get more serious during this time. Next slide, please. Now, Dragons, you guys are going to have a much easier year in 2025. This is when new opportunities that you've been working at really start to come in. You are in the middle of spring, so now the whole thing about planting seeds and all that gets much easier. You know, you say, oh, that didn't work. I'm going to try something else. There is a little risk here that you made changes last year and now you're thinking they're not working and you want to go back to something you were doing in the previous 12-year cycle. And I'm going to tell you, you're going to feel tempted to do that. But if you do, you will probably change then again in 2026. So you may want to just stick it out and see if the seeds you've planted are going to sprout. So you, as I said, or as it says on the slide, jobs, home, and relationships are still in flux, but things are better. And your efforts are very focused now. You're really looking for the signs that things are working. Next slide, please. Now, for Snake, this is your very first year of spring, and that means that you have just been dropped on a piece of property. There's nothing but dirt, and you have a bag of seeds. And what you need to remember is you are an experienced farmer. You're not starting from scratch. I know it can feel like it when you start your 12-year cycle, and so it can feel so disruptive because you probably are getting a new job. You may get a new home. You may have change in relationships. Like everything is changing. And the more change you do, the more you're going to prosper in years to come. So you really want to lean into that. This is a very busy time because all of the planting has to be done. And it's very hard to see what's working, what's not, because when you plant a seed, you can't see what's sprouting. So just continue to plant more seeds. That's the focus. Next slide, please. Now, Horse, you are in the last year of seed saving. That means you're in the last year of winter, and you can't wait to get out of the house and try something new. You're just itching to do it, but it's not quite time yet. And so in 2025, you really want to just be doing soft launches, just test marketing, or you might go back to school. You might do some independent study. You know, basically all you can do is plant little plants on the windowsill. You can't take your ideas out into the world just quite yet. It's just too soon. So you're testing the waters, but this is the best time for reflection, planning, etc. Next slide, please. Now, for Goat, you are in the second year of seed saving. That means you're in the middle of winter. So you're now in a routine. Now you're taking inventory of what you have. Like, this is the middle of winter. You know that things are okay right now. And so you can deepen your relationships. You can explore hobbies. You can take some time off. But you also have to watch your resources because you still have to get through the whole winter. That means that changing jobs during this time can be a little bit rough. Like, you have to work to find the job. You have to work to you can get promotions, but to move out of your industry takes a lot of effort during this time. So this is more about settling in and focusing on inner work and just strengthening your positions. Next slide, please. And then monkey, you are doing your first year of winter. And so this is the time where harvest is done and you are like, woohoo. And so this is a time for promotions, awards. This is where you get the little mini breaks. So this is where if it's winter and now you have all of your fruits and vegetables are all in jars and you just have this abundance of inventory. And so, but you are now thinking, I've got to get through winter. And so you're more in preservation. You know, you might be switching investments and friendships and all that to focus on long term. Next slide, please. And now, Rooster, you are in the last year of harvest. So this is kind of like Thanksgiving time. So this is where success comes very easily. You're in very high demand. Everyone sees your skills and says, oh, you know, you're doing amazing. It's very easy to get promotions. It's more difficult to change industries. So, but you can do related industries. Your popularity is very high. And this is a time where the culmination's happening. So you can get married, have a child, buy a house, do something that is truly, you know, big, you know, get your book done. So next slide, please. Now, dog, you are going to have a much better year in 2025. You are in the second year of harvest. So this is the middle of autumn. It's still a very busy year for you, but you have opportunities for expansion. The job can stabilize or your business grows. You know, you just feel like there is abundance. There is opportunities. You can build really strong relationships. This is your general success year. Next slide, please. Now, Pig, you are doing the opposition year. That means that Snake is opposite your sign, and that is the most difficult aspect in Chinese astrology. The reason being that all of us in the entire world are focused on Snake, and so we're ignoring you. And that means you have to speak up, and that is rather difficult because, Pig, that's not your nature. So, but the good news is that you have now entered your harvest period, and so while you may feel a little ignored and it is difficult to find, you know, some of the connections and support that you had in the past, unless you speak up, there is so many business, financial, those type of opportunities for you. And so try to shout loudly, say I'm here, and that's when you get the promotion. That's when you get the new job. That's when your love relationship moves forward. So this can be a very strong financial year. It's just emotionally, it can feel like you're having to do much more to get attention. Next slide, please. So how do you prosper in 2024 and 2025? Well, the really interesting thing is about these two animals is if you see the pictures here, they have this most flexible, adaptable shape. And that's the key for these years and going forward. And that is to become more flexible, adaptable, versatile, resilient, resourceful, open-minded, agile, and responsive. If you do that, you will prosper. Next slide, please. And that's it. I think we have 1 minute for questions. I don't know if I'm supposed to be saying something. So, oh, how do you find your other pillars? Oh, there's a chat. So you find your pillars through just go online and say Chinese astrology 4 pillars, and then it'll ask you for your date of birth, your time of birth. It may ask your place of birth. Place of birth is not necessary in Chinese astrology, but the software may be set to Hong Kong or China. And so you do want to put in your place of birth so that you get the accurate time for the hour pillar. So, yeah, so nice to see you all too. Thank you so much. So, thank you.